So, I just want to share something about my experiences over the last 2 years. In February 2024, I was 61, and for some reason I become very aware of my mortality, and this made me make some changes in my life. I ended a relationship that was over 10 years, and that took some navigating because it wasn't my house that I was living in. 20 years ago I was made bankrupt, and so it wasn't possible for me to get another mortgage, and I had no desire to own another house and to get myself tied up financially like that. But my partner, she owned a house, and it meant that the house was going to be sold, and so we started to downsize. We continued living in the house for 8 months, and we started to do car boot sales and yard sales to really downsize things, and that felt really liberating to get rid of lots of stuff. And getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to be at the car boot sale for 6 a.m. and then people offering like 50 pence for something that was worth 20, 30, or a lot of times more. But it was a thing that had to be done because I didn't know where I was going to be living. And that was the first step really into what I would call stepping into the unknown. And it made me think about it recently, about when we step into the unknown, especially when you get into maybe what I would consider maybe the last third of my life. And that's not me being morbid, that's just me being realistic. And me becoming aware of my mortality wasn't anything to do with any health issues, because I've always been very healthy. I've always maintained my health by getting plenty of exercise and eating well and staying aware of how I'm treating myself. And the decision to end the relationship meant that I really had to rethink my business as well. I worked online mainly as a hypnotherapist and a coach, and a website and social media agent as well. And it meant that I could probably work from anywhere in the world, and yet I didn't want to move to anywhere in the world. I know a lot of men of my age might get to this point and think, I'm going to go and live somewhere sunny. Well, I really like the English weather, and I go fishing every single week with my son, and we have done for years. And I love those routines, so I wanted to stay somewhere local. So I realised that there was many decisions that I had to make, and yet still there was lots that was going to be unknown. So after selling quite a lot of my things and really sort of downsizing, keeping my business going, and also taking time out to go away for a few days at a time just to give my then ex-partner some space, because living in a very small cottage, when there's an emotional fallout, I'm not saying it was emotionally super painful or difficult, but I respected her space, and when she didn't want me around, then I would take myself off and I would go up the East Coast, a place like Flamborough, and book into an Airbnb for a few days and take my computer with me. And on one of these journeys, I was doing a coaching program. I was, the student of that coaching program with an amazing coach called Dax Moy. And if you want to check out Dax Moy online, and he's written some books as well, you'll see that he has some incredible courses. And on one of these courses, one of these modules, Dax had asked if we would go to our bookshelves and take down a book that we'd already read but maybe not understood, and to reread it. And that was part of the module, the exercise for the day. And so that's what I did. And that is when everything changed. And so, yeah, so everything changed when I took down a book from my bookshelf and I started to read it. Now, that book was called The Missing Link by Sydney Banks. And I'd read that book and I'd not quite got it. I'd not grasped the message in it. And yet this time I sat down, I remember sitting down in my living room one morning and I started to read it. And I only got through a few pages and I just stopped. And something really powerful struck me. It's what I now know to be an insight. I had a really incredibly powerful insight into the nature of my thinking and to how I could really change my life and my outlook just by becoming aware of the quality of the thoughts. Now, I remember after that I went online to find other books that were of this ilk about this idea, this approach, this understanding, call it what you will. And for anyone who's interested, if you go online and you search for Sydney Banks, you'll find some of his videos. And in the 70s, I think it was, he had an insight. He saw something and he realised he needed to share that with the psychological professionals of the world at that time. And I was intrigued, and so I bought more books. And it developed into an understanding that is known nowadays as the 3 principles. And if you want to explore the 3 principles any more, then I'll put some links down below in the comments. So I read this book and I felt that shift in my psychology, my understanding, and I read more books and I become much more aware of other people's thinking and how that thinking was impacting on their lives. As a hypnotherapist and a coach, I had a perfect opportunity to observe this in a way of gaining an understanding of people's experiences. And I did this by listening. Not telling them about things, but just by listening, I saw this whole pattern of behaviour just unfolding in front of me. Something that I may have just got an inkling of before, but now I was seeing it in the cold light of day, that it was the human experience, the operating system of the mind, and it was quite powerful. And so that began my journey. Now, by the middle of 2024, I'd reached out to a coach, a mentor, who had personally trained with Sydney Banks, and I inquired if he offered coaching programs, and he did. And we met once a fortnight, every 2 weeks, for 3 months, and I was just really taken by the gentle, calm, peaceful approach which he took, and the things that I started to see even more clearly. And it was transformative. And I read some more, and I found myself then moving away from my hypnotherapy practice with clients and quite simply listening to their stories and getting insights that I would then share with them. And transformation started to happen for them, for the issues that they were coming with. And it was a very gentle approach. I wasn't diagnosing them and prescribing or judging them in any way. And having trained as a person-centred counsellor years ago, 20 years ago, it really showed me that, ironically, this understanding was actually the missing link from what I felt wasn't sufficient or adequate about counselling. And that's why I never followed my counselling career, and why I went back to a more design and graphic area of business, even though 2020 I got into hypnotherapy more from an entertainment point of view, to add it to the possibility of doing a mentalism show. The thing that was so interesting for me was that there was an internal shift that felt so powerful that it was like I'd had my eyes opened. And obviously I wanted to share this with more people. Now, like anything, when we learn something new and we're really impressed, we get a bit giddy about it, don't we? And we want to tell everybody about it, and we become a bit of an evangelist and maybe a bit of a bore, really. And I kind of went through that period. I'm aware that I went through that period, and I think it was a very natural thing to do. I went through that period of time, and then I kind of started to settle in. I worked with some more mentors, some more coaches who were sharing the 3 principles. I attended some retreats. Interestingly, on one of those retreats, I think after the second day, I kind of thought to myself, I just don't get it. I was really trying to work out, what they were talking about, and to really grasp it. And I felt almost inadequate that I wasn't getting that understanding of what they were sharing, because you never kind of get there with this. You're always discovering, you're always exploring. There's always that theme again, the unknown. And I remember on the second day, it was almost like, I just can't think about this anymore. And then I had another insight, and that was, I don't need to think. I don't need to work it out intellectually. It's not about the intellect. That understanding, that knowing, that grounding is not about the intellect and working it out and making sense of it. It's about having that sense, that feeling that what we're witnessing and what we're experiencing is right, is the truth. And we know that by the way that we feel, that nice feeling inside, that calm presence. Something that people have said they've noticed about me, more so now than they did in the past. But it really was an eye-opener to realise that there was me on this retreat. It was in Spain. I was listening to the speaker. I was trying to work out what the hell he was talking about. I just wasn't getting it. And then I realised I needed to just relax and let it sink in and not try and work it out intellectually. I just needed to let it land. And it did. And the thing that I really took away, and this might sound really simple, but the thing that I took away from that 3-day event was that thinking is quite a redundant exercise. We do way more of it than we need to. And we get caught up in our thoughts, and we really do get bogged down. And it's only when we relax and we accept that we don't have all the answers that we start to get the answers. Strange, isn't it? It's quite ironic that when we don't know and then we appreciate and accept that we don't know, and we just relax into that and get comfortable with it, that unknowing reveals something really, really powerful. So my journey over the last couple of years is, well, there are that many instances of amazing things that have happened. One of those amazing things was to meet my present business partner. Now, after having quite a few failed businesses in my lifetime, and some of them being partnerships, I swore I would never have another business partnership, and I would always be flying solo in my business. And I realised that was a little bit of a limited belief, because I was basing my present moment decisions on my past experiences. You know, we do that, don't we? But I got introduced by one of my teachers. I got introduced by an amazing individual called Ewan Jupp. And Ewan was studying hypnotherapy at the time. He'd worked as an internet marketer actually for many, many years, so we had lots of things in common. And he wanted to have a chat with me about marketing his business, because he realised that selling internet marketing and selling his therapy services were a whole different ball game. And we got chatting. And believe it or not, at the end of, I think it was about an hour's meeting on Zoom, whoops, a bit slippery underfoot here, after about an hour of meeting on Zoom, we virtually shook hands on a new business venture. And that new business venture, since back then in September 2024, has grown beyond my wildest dreams, my expectations. We've got a fabulous working relationship. We got to meet for the first time last year. So we'd worked for quite some time just online, and then we got to meet, I think it was last November, in Spain for the first time in person. And that was great. And it really kind of, it met and went beyond our expectations when we met each other in person. We just instantly got on. I think one of the people on the retreat that we was on said that we were like a pair of naughty school children, because we kept laughing all the time, and we bounced off each other really, really well. So that was wonderful. But these opportunities that started to come up, we built a membership site. It was always my dream to build a membership site where I could teach therapists how to market their businesses online. And Ewan came along with the solution, because he'd built membership sites for many, many years for other people. And he said here was an opportunity for him to do something that he really loved in a new industry that he was stepping into. And so that was it. That partnership was born. Now, I think about the unknown again. We stepped into an unknown territory of setting up a business together. And you know what? It flowed effortlessly. It was just so incredible how well it all came together. And we started to get some incredible results, and we're continuing to enjoy those incredible results of building a membership and some amazing courses within that membership. But also this year, this 2026, in April, we're actually running our own retreat in Spain, in Albia, where we both met last year, because we decided we could easily dream as big as that. We were on a retreat with some mentors, and now we're going to be putting on our own retreat. And why not? Because we've got something to share, because we've both seen something. I introduced Ewan to the 3 principles, and at first he was a little bit resistant of what I was talking about, and was, I think, probably trying to work it out intellectually. And then we met on that retreat in Spain, and like me, he just wasn't getting it those first 2 days. And then the penny dropped, and he really started to see something. And from there, things have just developed in an incredible way. And so, you know, the whole point really of sharing this video, making this video, is that I just wanted to share good news, the possibilities of great things happening. You know, people say, you know, when you get to 60 or 60 plus, you know, you really should be looking at kind of hunkering down and planning for your retirement. And I think to myself, where? No way. It's just beginning. The excitement that I feel for the future is just mind-blowing. The opportunities that are coming my way, and I say they're just too many to even list, have just become so, well, I'm ceased to be amazed really, because it's one thing after another, and it is so exciting, and to enter into the unknown as I did in 2024. Well, I'd say this for anybody reaching that point in their life where maybe you start to become a little bit aware of your mortality, or you're thinking, I really want a shift, I want to change. And maybe you've been feeling that way for a long time, whether it's in a relationship, in a job, whatever it is. You have the opportunity to change your mind, to shift, to move, to make decisions. You have free will. And sometimes it's just your thinking around it that's holding you back. So what this video is, it's an invitation to say to you that you do have a choice. Your life can look a whole lot different, like my life looks a whole lot different right now than what it did, 2 years ago. And I am so grateful for the things that have happened and for my own well-being, my own headspace. I could not be in a better place than I am right now. And I realised that it's come with very little effort. It's come from recognising that we all have a natural, innate well-being within us. We all have that built in. And when we just stop and get out of our own way, and we stop trying to analyse or over-intellectualise everything, and we trust our gut feeling or our instinct or whatever you want to call it, and we go with the flow of that, when we do that, miracles do happen. And I think that my life is, a miracle in motion. I really do. I don't say that lightly. I really do. I feel so excited about the future and the possibilities that are there. And to think it all came from a place of what some people might call pain, because I had to make a decision to change my life, my future. And I stepped into the unknown, and wow, I never expected this. And all I can do is say, I wish that for you. If you're finding yourself in this place, a place of really feeling that there is something that needs to shift, then don't be frightened of the unknown. The unknown can bring so many amazing opportunities. And sometimes the things that are blocking us are just the way we're thinking. In fact, I would say most of the time, the things that are blocking us are the way that we're thinking about them. So on that note, I'm going to wish you a fabulous 2026. And I'll catch up with you soon.